What if Deku stayed quirkless? Chapter 3. The days dragged on in an awkward silence. Everyone was on edge, watching Deku and Bakugo. Even the teachers watched them, ready to separate them if necessary, but it never happened. The two boys remained quiet and restrained. The teachers expected this of Midoriya, because of his conversation with the principal, but not of Bakugo. As far as they had seen, he was a loud, confident person who won't let something as simple as a defeat keep him down. But it wasn't just a defeat. Not only had Bakugo been completely trounced by someone without a quirk, Deku exposed Bakugo for who he really is, a bully. He claims to be better than others, but puts down those who are weak. But that's not what All Might would do. That's the behaviour of a villain. After class, Bakugo walked out behind the school building, falling down to the ground. He held his head in his hands. "Damn it, was he right?" said Bakugo to himself. Bakugo sat there for a while, just thinking about what Deku said. At that moment, Deku walked round the corner. "Oh, I didn't realize you were back here," said Deku. Deku went to walk away, but Bakugo stopped him. "Where did you go? Back then? Your mum pulled you out of school, and then you just left. Did I drive you away?" said Bakugo. Deku paused for a moment. "In a way, yes you did. You made me feel powerless, worthless, and because of that I began to train. I wanted to prove to you that you weren't special, that you were just lucky. I disappeared because I got sponsored and began training around the world," said Deku. Deku clenched his fist, punching the wall. The blick sprinted and cracked up the wall. "I learned to do stuff like that," said Deku. "Okay, I understand," said Bakugo. Deku walked off. The next day, the cast was on a trip to the USJ. Deku sat on the bus listening to music until Ida moved and sat down next to him. "Hey, you okay?" asked Ida. "Yeah, I'm fine," said Deku. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have let Bakugo go off on his own. It was obvious what would happen if you two met," said Ida. "It's okay, it's gonna happen eventually," said Deku. Ida put his hand on Deku's shoulder. "Are we good?" said Ida. "Yeah, buddy, don't worry about it." Ida smiled. Across the bus, Bakugo faced the ground. He was still shaken. "How could a quirkless loser like him beat me so badly? Is hard work really all you need?" Bakugo thought to himself. Bakugo struggled with his thoughts. After a little while, Uraraka got to her feet and walked over to Ida and Deku. "Ida, can I talk to Midoriya for a second?" asked Uraraka. Ida nodded, giving his seat to Uraraka. Uraraka and Deku sat in silence for a second until Uraraka spoke up. "You really annoyed me. You ruined the test for me too," said Uraraka. "I'm sorry," said Deku. "Good," said Uraraka. Uraraka smiled. "It's still amazing that you managed to take down Bakugo so easily. I watched the recording," said Uraraka. Deku smiled. "Do you think you could give me a couple of lessons at some point?" asked Uraraka. "Sure, I'd love to, but it won't be easy," said Deku. "Sure, that's fine," said Uraraka. The bus pulled up and the students got off. "Welcome to the USJ, students. Here we will be training you to be able to handle emergency situations such as landslides and fires," said 13. They walked inside and 13 began explaining the day. She talked for a bit longer and then Deku raised his hand. "Yes, Midoriya?" asked Aizawa. "What's that?" said Deku. Deku pointed to a black smoke cloud in the middle of the USJ. The teachers turned to see the smoke expand to form a massive portal. "Crap. 13, protect the students," said Aizawa. "What's going on?" asked Uraraka. "Those are villains," said Aizawa. Aizawa leapt down the stairs, landing in front of the horde of villains. "Only one pro? Pathetic," said the villains. The villains raised their hands to shoot Aizawa, but Aizawa blocked their quirks. "What the?" said the villains. The villains were cut off and Aizawa's knee landed firmly in their face. He jumped from villain to villain, taking them all down quickly, but soon Aizawa began to tire. The villains managed to grab Aizawa from behind and another ran towards them, ready to hit him. But before they could, Aizawa worked his way free and kicked the incoming villain in the head and turned to take down the other. However, he was already down. "Who the?" asked Aizawa. Deku tapped Aizawa on the shoulder from behind, making Aizawa turn around shocked. "You look like you needed a hand," said Deku. "How did you get behind me? I couldn't feel your presence," said Aizawa. Deku smiled at his teacher and then turned to the villains. You ready? Asked Deku. Yeah, just don't die, said Aizawa. That's not going to happen, said Deku. The two of them leapt into battle. Deku kicked the legs out of one of the villains, and then, as he fell forward, Deku brought his knee up into his nose. There was a loud crunch as the villain fell to the ground. Who's next? Said Deku. Several villains rushed to Deku. Get him, he's just some kid, said the villains. Deku smiled and got into a deep stance. Don't be so sure, said Deku. Deku jumped forward, too fast for the villains to react, grabbing one of them by the throat and slamming them into the ground. What the? Said the villains. Before they could process what happened, Deku swept their legs from underneath them and landing several quick strikes knocked them all out. Aizawa took a second to watch Deku as he handled them. Incredible. His technique is flawless, but you could benefit from more mobility, said Aizawa. Aizawa jumped over to Deku, landing next to him. Midoriya, how quick can you learn a new technique? Said Aizawa. I only need to see you once, said Deku. Aizawa grinned. Then it's time for a lesson, said Aizawa. Aizawa threw his binding cloth, wrapping up several villains, and then pulled himself towards them, knocking them all out in seconds. Deku's eyes widened. Now that's impressive, said Deku. Aizawa jumped back over, tearing the binding cloth in half, and giving half of it to Deku. It's time for a practical test. Use it. Right now, said Aizawa. Deku threw the binding cloth, flicking his wrist at the end. Like a coiled viper, the cloth shot towards the villain, wrapping around his neck. The villain looked over at Deku with scared eyes, only to see a confident smile. With another flick of his wrist, Deku sent the villain's face into the ground. Brilliant job, keep it up, said Aizawa. Deku and Aizawa sent out their cloths, and both launched at their enemies. That's amazing, said Uraraka. Uraraka looked down from the top of the stairs, watching Deku dismantle the enemy. Deku tore through the ranks of the villains until he came across a massive, tough villain. What are you going to do, kid? You're so weak, said a villain. Deku clicked his neck and sprinted forward. With all his power, he kicked the villain's knee. Instantly, the villain's knee snapped backwards. The villain wobbled, but didn't fall. Instead, he pulled back his massive fist and swung at Deku. As if it was happening in slow motion, Deku dodged out of the way with the fist, and then jabbed the villain right in the nose. The villain stumbled back as Deku continued his advance. The villain swung again, but Deku dug underneath his arm, launching several quick jabs into his shoulder and arm. Ha! What was that? Deku smirked. Suddenly, the villain realized. He tried to move his arm, but it only swayed to his side. What did you do? Asked the villain. Deku jumped forward, landing jabs all over the villain's chest. Deku then simply stepped past them and walked off. I hit all your pressure points, said Deku. Deku turned away as the villain fell to the ground. Pathetic, said Deku. Deku ran off, taking down another couple of villains, only a couple of hits. After knocking out one villain, Deku rubbed his hand. Damn, that's starting to hurt. I should put some gloves into my costume, thought Deku. As Deku rubbed his hand, the villain tried to sneak up on him. As the villain leapt at Deku, he simply stepped to the side, tripping him up. They laid face down on the ground as Deku put his foot on their back. What's your plan? Said Deku. I'll never tell you, said the villain. Did you not see what I did to your friends? Said Deku. The villain paused for a moment, thinking. We came to kill All Might, said villain. Please, you think you street thugs can kill him? Said Deku. Not us, said the villain. The villain pointed over to Shigaraki and the Nomu. But they can, said the villain. Good to know. Thank you, said Deku. Deku hit the villain in a pressure point on his neck, putting him to sleep, then stretched his arms. Now, the real fight begins. Deku used his binding cloth to wrap around the rock, pulling himself straight towards the Nomu. The big guy is the real threat, thought Deku. Deku shot forward, landing a massive spin kick in Nomu's face. Shock spread across Deku's face. He hadn't even flinched. Suddenly, the Nomu's eyes turned, looking straight at him. Deku threw up his guard, but it did nothing as the massive punch followed. Deku was sent flying, skidding across the floor and bouncing into a wall. Deku fell to his knees, coughing up a massive amount of blood. Oh, that's not healthy, said Deku. Deku staggered to his feet, clutching his chest. His vision blurred in and out of focus. Holy hell, I've never been hit like that. Awesome, I might finally get to test it out, said Deku. Deku leapt back in. This time, the Nomu didn't wait for him to land his hit, instead immediately swung his fist at Deku. However, Deku saw this coming, with a quick tug of the binding cloth, changed his direction, so he landed behind the Nomu. Quickly, before it could turn, Deku shot several quick jabs into the monster's back. Damn, no effect. This guy isn't normal. Even All Might would have felt that, said Deku. Nomu turned and Deku jumped back. Okay, here goes. Deku tore off his top and took a deep breath. Just kill him already, said Shigaraki. The Nomu shot at Deku, launching its massive fist at the boy's skull. From across the plaza, Aizawa yelled. Midoriya, no! Said Aizawa. The massive fist crashed into Deku's head, but as it did, Deku's stance dropped, loosening up. As the fist hit, Deku span, rolling off the fist. Then, with a flick of his hand, Deku smacked the Nomu in the face. A massive shockwave enveloped the area, but when the dust settled, no one could understand what they were seeing. The massive Nomu was embedded in the wall, and Deku stood strong. Oh, I'm so glad that worked, said Deku. Deku grinned, wiping blood off his face. Okay, I haven't perfected it yet. Nomu climbed out the rubble, then shot back towards Deku. It launched a massive barrage of punches at him. You have so much speed, but you are simple. Your attacks are easy to read. Deku took another hit, and again the Nomu was pushed back. What the hell is going on? Said Aizawa. You like it? It's a technique I've been working on. You move your body like calm flowing water. It allows you to take hits and quickly redirect the energy back like a crushing rock. Deku deepened his stance. The fist of flowing water crushing rock. That's the name of this technique that will crush you villains, said Deku. Now, Nomu, kill him, said Shigaraki. Nomu yelled, then shot forward. Deku took a deep breath as the Nomu launched a massive punch. Deku sent the punch straight back, but the Nomu didn't let up. He brought his other arm straight up. Deku jumped off the fist, coming down for a kick on Nim's head. He made contact, but he was grabbed. Shit, said Deku. Deku was hurled into the ground. Deku coughed up more blood, then jumped to the side to avoid the massive foot coming for his head. Nomu then threw another massive barrage of punches. I can't dodge these, said Deku. Deku began redirecting them back at Nomu, but all the hits were coming too fast. I've got to be faster, said Deku. Deku focused. Everything else fell away. All that mattered was taking this guy down. Enough defense, said Deku. Deku gritted his teeth and redirected the hits straight to the ground. Deku then brought his knee straight into the Nomu's face. Acting quickly, Deku jumped away. Okay, he doesn't seem to be going down, no matter how many hits I send back. Deku gripped his arm. Damn, this isn't perfect yet, I'm still taking damage with each hit, said Deku. Then Deku saw it. A dent in the Nomu's stomach where Deku had redirected one of his punches. Healed. Immediately, Deku looked over at Aizawa. Mr. Aizawa, take away his quirk, said Deku. Aizawa nodded and his eyes flashed red. Okay, big guy, let's try that again. Nomu launched another barrage of punches at Deku, and as Deku sent them back, Deku knew his idea was correct. His first hit landed in his shoulder. This immediately tore off the shoulder muscle of the Nomu. The arm hung limply at the Nomu's side. The next hit got redirected into a kick to the Nomu's right knee. This completely inverted the beast's knee, sending it to the floor. However, this didn't stop it from attacking. You definitely aren't normal, said Deku. End this quickly, Midoriya, said Aizawa. Deku nodded. I bet pressure points didn't work on this big guy because of your healing, but how about now? Deku let past the Nomu's still flailing hand and hit the beast with several quick, powerful jabs. The Nomu fell to the ground unconscious. Deku turned to Shigaraki. It looks like you're next, said Deku. Deku clicked his knuckles. Shouldn't you finish the fight you were already in the middle of? Said Shigaraki. Deku turned to see the massive Nomu standing behind him. I'm sorry, Midoriya. I blinked, said Aizawa. The Nomu grabbed Deku's arm, crushing the bones inside. Deku screamed in pain as the Nomu held him up by his broken arm. Then the Nomu punched him hard in the stomach, sending him flying towards the stairs. Midoriya! Yelled Aizawa. Just before Deku smashed his head into the hard steps, someone caught him. Slamming him to the ground, All Might stood holding Deku. I'm very sorry, young man. I shouldn't have been late, said All Might. All Might put Deku down, then shot forward, engaging battle with the Nomu. Deku looked over at All Might, barely conscious. No, stop. Your time limit, said Deku. All Might swung his mighty fist over and over again, landing powerful hit after powerful hit, but nothing was happening to the Nomu. So, you're a tough one, said All Might. I should help, said Aizawa. Aizawa got ready to jump in when he saw Deku cough up another mouthful of blood. I need to get him out of here first, said Aizawa. Aizawa picked up Deku, then ran up the steps. Oh, he's hurt so bad, said Uraraka. We need to get him to Recovery Girl, quick. Where is Ida? He ran off to get the pros, said Uraraka. Aizawa nodded. That kid was smart. Okay, I should go back and help. Aizawa turned to see Todoroki freeze the left side of the Nomu. The beast began to move, shattering the ice and its limbs. What the? Said Todoroki. Aizawa thought quickly and took away its quirks, preventing it from healing. All Might shot his thumbs up at Aizawa, then jumped over to Todoroki. Young Todoroki, can I rely on your aid in this battle? Said All Might. Sure, said Todoroki. Todoroki shot a massive wall of ice at the Nomu, which the Nomu smashed with its remaining arm. However, the ice began to freeze its arm. Seconds later, All Might tore the frozen arm off. He then span around, landing a massive punch in the Nomu's head, bringing it to the ground. Finally, it was beaten. All Might turned to Shigaraki. Now, surrender, said All Might. Never, said Shigaraki. Shigaraki lunged at All Might, but Kurogiri opened a portal in front of him. Shigaraki appeared in a dark bar far away. Who do you think you are, stepping in like that? Said Shigaraki. We wouldn't have been able to defeat All Might. It would have been a waste of time, said Kurogiri. Shigaraki sulked off into the shadows. Meanwhile, All Might walked over to Todoroki and Aizawa, shaking both their hands. Thank you both. With both of you, this battle would have been much tougher. Suddenly, the door blew off its hinges. Villains, stop your evil acts, yelled Nezu. The smoke cleared, letting the teachers see all the defeated villains, and the fight was over. Oh, okay, said Nezu. Is Recovery Girl with you? Asked Uraraka. Recovery Girl walked over from behind Cementos. Yes, I'm here, said Recovery Girl. Uraraka pushed a floating Deku over to her. Oh my, he is heavily damaged, said Recovery Girl. She kissed him, but he didn't wake up. Will he be okay? Asked Uraraka. I think so, said Recovery Girl. Recovery Girl and Uraraka walked out of the USJ and put Deku in the back of a truck. A few hours later, Deku woke up in a bed. Next to him, Uraraka slept in a chair. On the other side of the room, Recovery Girl turned around to see Deku awake. Ah, welcome back, young man. How are you feeling? Sore, said Deku. I'm not surprised. You had several broken ribs and a broken arm, said Recovery Girl. Damn, haven't lost a fight that badly in a long time, said Deku. I don't even want to know, said Recovery Girl. Deku smiled and sat up. Take care, your ribs are healed, but your arm is only half healed. You'll have to wear that sling for a few days whilst you build up more energy. Deku nodded. Recovery Girl left the room and Deku looked down at his hand. That was awesome. He was so strong I didn't stand a chance, and I can't believe the water stream rock smashing fist actually worked. Like I always knew it could work in theory, but I never thought it would actually be forced to use it, said Deku. A massive smile spread across his face. Finally, something new to master. It's been so long, said Deku. Deku clenched his non-broken hand, raising it to the sky. I can do anything. I need to train harder, said Deku. Deku lowered his hand, then looked over to Uraraka sleeping away. She looked very peaceful. However, the peace was shattered when the door to the room was blown off its hinges. Deku jumped to his feet, getting into a stance, whilst Uraraka jumped so far out of her skin she fell to the floor with a crash. Oh my, you are lively, said All Might. All Might walked around the corner and Deku lowered his guard. Just behind All Might were Ida and Recovery Girl. Why did you destroy my door? Asked Recovery Girl. I'm sorry, I got overexcited hearing that young Doria was awake. And you know how weak these old doors can be, said All Might. Recovery Girl hit him over the head with her stick. Don't go blaming the door, said Recovery Girl. Deku turned away from Ida and All Might and gave Uraraka a hand up. You alright? Yeah, I just hit my head a little bit, said Uraraka. Uraraka laughed and sat down on the bed, rubbing her head. What's up, guys? Said Deku. We were worried about you, said Ida. Nah, I'm fine. Doc said I can be back to training in a few days, said Deku. No, I said you'll be healed in a few days. You should still take a few weeks to rest, said Recovery Girl. I see. I will definitely do that. Only rest for me, said Deku. That's not very convincing, said everyone internally. Recovery Girl rolled her eyes, then got back to work. Just like Toshi, said Recovery Girl internally. More importantly, what was that out there? I watched your fight. How could you do that? Asked Uraraka. Deku suddenly got really excited. Isn't it awesome? I call it the Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist. It's so cool. I can't wait to master it. My god, he's so excited. This is completely new for him, said Uraraka internally. God, I've been so bored. I've been feeling like I hit a ceiling with my training. This is a completely different level. Finally, something new to learn, said Deku. Deku laughed, grinning like a kid. What else do you think I can do? There's so much untapped potential. I'm so excited, said Deku. End of chapter 3.